Good morning, good evening, good day, wherever you're watching us from. Welcome to the GG Report. I'm your host, Godfrey Gichuki. This is another exciting show, another exciting episode of the GG Report. As always, the GG Report is a platform for big, bold, and honest conversation on a broad range of subject matters: socio, cultural, theological, political, philosophical, and everything in between, including philosophy. So today we are returning to the conversation on the Gen Z. As you very well know that we have had an amazing conversation. Kenya is going through some rebirth of some sort, a revolution of some sort triggered by the Gen Z, the generation that, this conversation about generation is very huge. And so there are still a lot of questions that have not been answered, a lot of questions that have been asked. But today we're going to focus on the way forward. What's the way forward? How, what is the vision? Now that many the arguments have been put forward, the questions have been raised, the president apparently has responded to some of the questions. There are still a lot of issues that are unsettled. So, but the question is, what's the way forward? And on the set this evening, I have with me far left, Mr. Munene, Githira. Welcome to the show, and please welcome our viewers.
Asante sana. Karibuni sana to this very meaningful and resourceful conversation. And let's have a conversation.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much. And next to me here is Mr. Mokua Manyara. He's a lawyer advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and very good gentleman. Please welcome the viewers. And then after that, we're going to go back to the final introductions.
Thank you, Pastor Gigi. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm looking forward to having a fruitful conversation.
Wonderful. Yeah, so here we are. Like I've said, this week, like the previous 2 weeks, it's been a round of conversations. And today, this afternoon, the president actually got into the space, X space, and there has been a very, very robust conversation there. I managed to log in, and the president was asked a lot of questions, and he tried to answer them. And then, but now the question is whether he has dealt with all the issues. And so we want to dive into this conversation, but I want the gentleman to actually tell us a little bit about themselves. I always ask people on my show, tell us who you are, your career journey, and how you got to where you are, usually about in 2 minutes. And then from there, we build that background, so people can understand where you're coming from, and then now we can dive into the rest of the conversation. I will be, of course, referencing some of the key issues that I have here on the set. We'll talk about the vision. We'll talk about what's broken with our society. We'll try and deal with the issue of some of the issues that have come up: competence, is the current government incompetent, and things like that. How do you deal with obvious issues of disinformation, fake news? There's a lot of information flowing around, so we'll deal with all those kind of things. Munene, just start off by telling us a quick summary of your career and journey.
Thank you so much, Pastor Gigi. And for me, my journey started when I realized that I have a passion to be an entrepreneur. And because of the things that I really loved, which is things to do with marketing and brands, I found myself leaning towards that direction of starting a business, trying to grow it. You see that it's actually growing, it's actually doing well. You're able now to have other people on board. And then when like the case of so many leaders, they find themselves, whether you're young or old, if you start doing well in the marketplace, you find that society will start to call you to be a leader in one space or the other.
Right.
And so that is how now I started getting myself into spaces where I'm in a board of a certain organization. I'm leading a particular group. I'm leading a particular movement. And so by being in such spaces, you now evolve not just being an entrepreneur, but a leader who is now at the center of governance, whether it's good governance or bad governance.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, Munene, I truly appreciate, you bring in a lot of wealth of experience. You're obviously in the margins of Gen Z, but yes, nonetheless, you're very, very much connected with the younger generation. You bring in that perspective, and thank you very much indeed. We will be addressing the main issues, but that's a very good background. So, Mokua, Manyara, you're an advocate, and that really is something that I value so much. I keep telling people I have a lot of respect for lawyers because they put skin back into the game. If you mess up with me, I have so many lawyer friends of mine, so I can get you sued. So I like that bit on on the lawyers. So you studied law, you qualified, I think you run a law firm.
Yes.
So just briefly tell us where you are in your career.
Yes, Pastor Gigi, there's a joke in the internet that says that I will tell my lawyer, let me talk to my lawyer is the equivalent of our kids telling you that I'll tell my mother.
Yes.
Nonetheless, my name is Mokua Manyara. I run a law firm together with my colleagues. It's called M&W and Advocates LLP.
Okay.
In private practice, we are based in Westlands. I have served both in the private and in the public sector.
Okay.
In the private sector, I practically practice law.
Right.
My areas of exposure are primarily commercial litigation, compliance and audit.
Right.
I audit public institutions
Okay.
on their level of compliance and by extension governance. In the public sector, I have had the privilege of serving in the police task force, the Maraga task force, the whole of last year. Also audited public institutions in terms of their legal compliance. I have also been a researcher because research is one of my strongest areas for the National Crime Research Center.
Okay.
And by extension now, and NCRC and in the police task force, I've had to work with the police.
Okay.
It's in a very broad category, in a very broad area, and I understand their workings and sometimes how they are socialized.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
That's me.
Yeah, wonderful. So you bring in actually a very valuable experience onto this conversation. But let's dive straight to the issues that we raised actually, and the issues we want to deal with today. We're looking at Gen Z vision for good governance. So let's actually lay out that vision. Given what you've seen in the last 3-4 weeks, the whole of June, and of course the last week was a little bit, a bit of an extreme. Obviously, everything came to a crash with one of the largest protests actually to be witnessed in the city of Nairobi and other places. Plus, of course, even this week, Tuesday, I think there was a bit of protest. However, I think this Thursday, yesterday, I think the protests had been called off. So let's talk about what's the vision. What's your vision for governance? Mr. Munene, you're passionate about governance. What exactly is a vision here? What do we want to see? There are two questions actually. And then what does a well-governed country look like? So we'll start with you. You can give a broad overview, and then we also have Mr. Mokua speaking to that.
Thank you for that. My vision, and I believe by saying this, I'll be speaking on behalf of so many other of my generation. My vision for good governance, number one, is we need a country that public services are working efficiently and to the highest quality. Number two, we need leaders who are respectful. Number one, to the rule of law. Number two, to the people they are serving.
Yes.
And then from there we need impactful and meaningful development across the country. And finally, and I know this is a very hot topic, is non-interference from Western powers in how this country is running.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is basically my vision for good governance. And then for a country that, what are the aspects of a country that has good governance? Number one is the education system is of the highest standard, the health sector as well, security. We are proud to be, Kenyans. We trust the institutions, all our institutions. Like currently, allow me to say that after the finance bill was rejected, now the second issue that came up was we need to look at IEBC. It's an institution that our trust is very low when it comes to that particular institution. Yeah, so we need leaders to adhere to laws. We have seen the kind of lawlessness that has come from our leaders, the government, which has been spreading down to even corporates and society. You look at even just an example of the public sector here in Kenya, the kind of lawlessness we see. It doesn't come from them really. It comes from them seeing what happens at the top, that nothing happens when the leaders are lawless. So even us, if we become lawless, most likely there's nowhere we will be. We will be taken.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I love that. I've seen the issues you have raised: working civil service, rule of law, development across the country, independence. In terms of sovereignty, we don't want interference by those external actors. And then, of course, your vision is a country where education, security, health. I don't know whether you mentioned health, but I think you did. Those are areas that they should be of the highest possible standard.
Yes.
Given our realities here.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So, Bwana Mokua, it's now up to you.
Thank you.
So we are laying the ground so that then after that now we can then start poking holes on some of those things.
I entirely agree with my friend Mr. Munene.
Yeah.
That is what basically governance is. But I want to also skew it towards the law, kidogo. Is that the Constitution says that we must be governed by the rule of law. It's one of the key principles of our national values under Article 10 of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And therefore, if we are not governed by the rule of law, and this rule of law must be applied to all persons, all state organs, including the counties. So it must apply across. And that is the beginning of good governance. Then number two, we must live by these principles and cascade them to all institutions. We must institutionalize our decision making and all our policies, and whatever we do as a country, we must have institutions that are independent and working.
Yeah.
And in constitutional law, there's a concept we call separation of powers and the concept of checks and balances.
Yes.
So at the apex level, we have 3 arms of government.
Yes.
And some people say we have 4, others say we have 5. The 3 are the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive. The 4th one, probably the independent commissions, and the 5th one is the people.
Yep.
In the last few weeks, you have seen the people come out to reclaim their powers under Article 1 of the Constitution.
There's a 6th one, the media.
Yes, yeah, the media is also part of that, part of that system.
Yes.
The Constitution under Article 1 says power belongs to the people.
Right.
And when these institutions are not working, they should be working, and the principles of governance are not being followed or applied by the leaders that be, then they take back their powers, and that is what I believe happened in the past few weeks.
Okay, yeah. So I can dive into that and raise questions.
Yeah.
So the other side of that, for example, let's take the rule of law. The rule of law, if we're going to govern our country by the rule of law, it must apply both sides, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So fidelity to the rule of law will mean that if it is a member of parliament that people are unhappy about, all right, and like for example, parliament has been deemed as utterly corrupt, must be thrown out, everyone must be recalled, etc., etc. Those are the demands. But if we are going to then be faithful to the rule of law, it means then there has to be adherence to a process.
Yeah.
Is that actually what the Gen Z are prepared for, or is it that we will shout the parliamentarians until we get, we drive them out of the August House? So how do we handle that? I mean, how do we get rid of the the current crop of members of parliament?
I'd say it's a double-edged sword, where number one, what Gen Zs and the millennials we have been pushing for is for instant reaction,
instant justice.
Instant justice.
Okay.
From the leaders who will feel the heat, and this cuts across, and you have seen it has cut across from government leaders to church leaders and so on. So the instant justice is, for example, if an MP can resign, the better and the easier for us.
Right.
If we have seen churches now coming out with statements saying no more harambes, no more pulpits for politics, and so on. That is a quick win.
Okay, what happened? There were two fundraisings, two specific ones that I know of that were called off.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. One of them was specifically called by the
First Lady.
Past lady was to be a guest in a fundraising at Lavington United. So they called off the fund drive. There was another one in Eldoret which was also called off. Of course, the president went for his fund drive, or rather the
incognito.
Yeah, he went to the Nyahururu ordination of the bishop, and there was the Gen Z turned up, and they really cost quite a bit of a star. So, and the president didn't give anything, no money changed hands, so I guess, so that's a big win. So I'm being more specific.
Yes. So those are the quick wins. If we can see leaders who are feeling the pressure, yes, I have been corrupt, yes, I have been incompetent, yes, I have really lacked respect for my people, then I need to step down and allow other people to lead. That is the first quick win. Now, on the other side is that if, of course, we know the kind of system we have here in Kenya where leaders don't want to step down for anything. So in that case, we would like to see the legal process being implemented. What does it take to recall an MP? And currently there are conversations that have started on that particular process. So now people are aware of what it takes for us to recall an MP. So it's a double-edged sword. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Maybe you should speak to that thing of recording, in the sense that, and this is the issue, this is the dilemma. So supposing the guy you beat during the election, Ghana's people, in the back in your county, in your constituency, and basically in a vendetta, it's just an act of really, revenge, instigates the recall. Should we believe anyone who presents some recall, and should the MP, the guilty MP, be subjected to the whole due process? Or why do you think actually that? Because I think I saw the statutes. It looks like it's a very, very complex process. Why did they make it so hard?
Number one, recalling an MP is very, very difficult.
Okay.
It is provided for under Article 104
of
the Constitution. I think I read it when I was in first year.
Right.
But then they enacted some statute that was actually declared unconstitutional. Some of the provisions of the recalling process were declared unconstitutional because they had placed the threshold for recalling them so high. Remember, if we were to have a by-election in Kenya, the turnout for that election is actually going to be less than 30%
Okay.
if we are doing very well.
Right.
And then these guys are saying that, number one, for you to recall an MP, you must collect signatures from more than half the registered number.
50%. Yes.
And then also the election, for this election to be valid, I think also more than 50% of these people must vote.
Okay.
So are you really going to achieve that purpose if you recall this person? Are you going to really recall this person? It is actually almost an impossibility with the current regime.
Okay.
What we are looking at, and the impact of this protest is actually, in my view, I am not so much of a radical, but I'm happy with the outcome. This is number one. My friends in parliament are now less arrogant.
Okay.
They are less arrogant. They have realized that there are people who can hold them accountable.
Right.
Wamekuwa wakisalimiwa. I do not advocate for that. I do not advocate for violence.
Yeah.
But you know, when the law doesn't work, the political class, the upper echelons of society always use the law in their favor.
Okay.
Yes. And actually, I have to take this opportunity to send condolences to the families that lost their loved ones during the protest. Because now, what we are having is, we have had to lose so many lives for these people to see sense of what we are talking about as Gen Zs.
Yeah.
There is plunder of public resources, there is largesse, and then they are taxing us to fund their luxurious lifestyles. And that's why I look at it and say that we have had a positive impact because of the pressure that was released by the president today. They are going to cut on unnecessary costs, and which is a step in the right direction.
Right, absolutely. And clearly, so perhaps would you then recommend, and again, I'm taking it back to you, would you recommend that the recall law be actually reviewed to make it slightly easier to recall, or would that perhaps then get the wrong guy recalled while actually he was just doing fine, just because somebody's girlfriend or boyfriend was not happy, something like that? I mean, I'm throwing in that little
recalling members
twist.
of parliament is a political process.
Yes.
And impeachments, so let me just talk about them both.
They are connected,
impeachments are quasi-judicial. They are also very, very political.
Yes.
But recalling is political. There is really not much about being given a fair hearing or not. It's people collecting signatures, a vote of no confidence from the people.
Okay.
You're not representing our interest, come back. So even if it is your ex-wife who wants to recall you, and she can instigate a whole process of collecting the signatures and you're out, then you will just be recalled.
Okay.
But then I tend to think that we should make a law that is workable.
Yes.
A law that is workable. Number one, we cannot recall these MPs until August.
Right.
2 years must have passed after the election.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so someone can just decide to come in, go rogue for 2 years, you recall him, amekula CDF yote, and then that's okay. You would have squandered all the CDF, then you recall him, he's okay. Because
I think we need to tell our viewers that we are we are unpacking this recalling thing, and currently, according to our guest here, Mokua, that the provisions is such that you can't do anything until this August. 2 years must elapse. So don't be in a rush. But after August, you can begin to collect the signatures and recall. Yes.
And also
yes,
just to jump in, I think 2 days ago I had the same conversation of we were asking ourselves, MPs cannot be the ones to vet themselves, make laws against themselves. So it's a very tricky situation we are in. But something very interesting that was done 2 days ago is, allow me to mention them, Azimio did a presser and said they have started the process of recalling 6 of their notorious MPs, and they define notorious by repeat offenders. So these are people who last year voted yes for the finance bill when they were told to vote no, and this year again they voted yes.
Okay.
I think there are 6 of them. They were named in that presser. So it will be, I would urge us Kenyans and Gen Zs and every generation, we can pay close attention to how they will go about their recalling. So then now we can pick some notes, we can see how they go about it, and then now we can say this is how we can approach any recalling we need to do.
Okay, and I think, you know, maybe like the British Parliament, for example, where the Prime Minister can be changed, the party can just vote, and you're out and a new Prime Minister comes in. You know, that's how they do it. Perhaps then our laws currently as they exist, the political parties don't have as much power. If they had more power, this would have been a political party conversation, isn't it? For example, as Mio saying, you're not following the rules, you are disadvantaging the Mwananchi who elected you, and as a political party, these are, you know, this is how we are you know, showing you the door. It's complex, but I agree with you that I think that's a space we're going to watch and see how that recall works out. I think that's very, very interesting. We'll be going to a short break, but so if there is anything else, so do you think there is any other way Wananchi can exercise, you know, apart from, you know, naming and shaming? Is there any other thing they can do actually to put pressure on their members of parliament to resign?
What happened, in my view, what we have seen, in my view, it is unprecedented. Legally, according to the law, following the law, the process is very, very complex. But I think it's doable. ODM, if they are serious with it, ODM is a strong party that has numbers, it has a good following, it has a good leader, a firm leader. They can impeach their 6.
Okay.
But then that might not be replicated to several other places.
Okay.
Yes. But the protests, in my view, I did not advocate for the violent part of the protest.
Yeah.
But then I have seen that they can work.
Okay.
And politics in Kenya is not going to be the same again.
Wonderful. I think that's quite correct. I'm going to we are going to go to a short break, gentlemen. So this is the conversation we are having about here. We are talking about what's the way forward, what's the future, what's the vision, what does good governance look like? And we're going to go into a short break. When we come back, we'll come back to this conversation. We are also going to talk about some of the other issues that we have not addressed in this conversation, and perhaps you know, deal with the issues of competence or incompetence. How can that be addressed? So don't go away. Take a short break. Let's come back to this conversation shortly.